Hello, BookTube. Well, we're going to do Last Week in BookTube again. This is for those of you who are new, this is a feature of mine where I look back on the previous week in BookTube and sort of recommend highlights that I really like that you might have missed. By no means meant to be comprehensive. I'm sure I missed a lot, but these things I really liked, and I'm going to try to go through them in a brisk order because my videos have been getting so long. I want to try and arrest that, even though the rest of you don't seem to mind. But by far the biggest thing, there's one bigger thing on BookTube last week that I will deal with in a separate video, but by far the biggest thing last week was August wrap-ups and September TBRs. There were a million of them, to the point where I wanted to say, people, we're a week into the month. You have to let August go. You can still talk about September, but anyway, I realized that that's not quite legitimate because I read a lot more books just numerically than most people do, and there's a constant flow of them on my nightstand, whereas most of the rest of you, that process is a little slower, so a later TBR is totally justified. One of the ones I liked was Jack the Bibliophile, who came back, made a video, was a kind of amusingly shamefaced about how late it was in the month. At least he acknowledged it. But one of them that confused me was Olive from ABookOlive, one of my favorite booktubers. She did an August wrap-up and a September TBR, another fantastic video of hers. And in addition to a bunch of likes, it got some dislikes. And I admit, obsessing since then to try and figure out why. What is in that video that could cause anyone to dislike it, much less a dozen people? I don't understand it. I've watched it and studied it now, and I don't understand it. So go to that video and like it, first of all, and then try and figure out if you have an insight into what it is that caused some people to dislike that. Because if a perfectly nice, smart, well-made August wrap-up, September TBR can get dislikes, none of us are safe. But in addition to the August wrap-ups and September TBRs, there were a bunch of other things I wanted to mention. Like, for instance, a book chemist, great booktuber, does lots and lots of really great book reviews, announced recently that he has set up a Patreon page so that his viewers can, if they want, support him financially, mainly for the buying of books, which, as he rightly points out, is expensive for most people who don't have, a used book haven all around them. I thought that was interesting. I naturally, I've seen a couple of other people do it, and of course the guys at Stripcover Lit make no secret of the fact that they want Patreon to be their income. They want to be professional at this. I immediately thought, of what would a Steve Donahue Patreon be like? And then I realized every once in a while, one of you calls the Prattle Bookshop here in Boston and calls in a $10 gift certificate from me. And that's so sufficient that a Patreon page would really be kind of pointless. What would I offer? Personalized book recommendations? You all have my email. I make them all the time. Personalized shopping? You all get books from me in the mail anyway. So I couldn't make the claim that a Patreon page would actually cause you to get any more from me than you already do. So, but you should go and look at his Patreon page, and this is a worthy booktuber. So if you have the cash to spare, think about donating it. It's certainly a worthy cause. Conrad at the Deckled Edge changed the name of his channel to 7 Days at Sea. I know that it's largely a cosmetic change, but I only wanted to point it out to reassure those who might not have seen it yet that you still get one of the best damn BookTube channels in the world, regardless of its name. So definitely, if you don't watch his channel and subscribe to it, go and do that, regardless of what it's called. Margaret at MargaretL, a channel that I go to it all the time. I keep expecting her to have 800 subscribers, and no. Her number is still small. I don't get that. She's really good. And one of her strong points, I've noticed, is a nice, long, comfortable, detailed review of a book. Like, for instance, the one I have in mind here, she did Lynn Morris's Regency novel, The Baron's Honourable Daughter, that I thought was a problematic book. And she did too, and gave it a very thorough, fair, balanced review. So kudos, and let's hope for more of the same. Definitely go and subscribe if you like what you see. And Arthur at ChapterSelect did a 60-second review of J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye. I saw the title and I thought, oh, come on. There's no way you'll be able to do that, but he does. He does just a fine job. Of course, not a highly detailed job, but you definitely get a sense that you have watched someone's review of a book in 60 seconds. It's made me a little self-conscious. Marlinelina did an announcement for her slow readathon, the slowathon, which is a thing she's doing that wants you to concentrate on slowly savoring a book rather than reading goals, reading pages, reading per day, that sort of thing. Of course, an utterly alien concept to me, but I like the idea just the same. I especially like the point she makes that this shouldn't be about pressure. This should be about savoring and enjoying. So those of you, maybe she's taking people for her slowathon. If you're interested in that, you should try it. A number of booktubers last week did videos for their library book sale hauls that made me kind of envious. A lot of you live in communities where your library has an ongoing bookstore that sells things in addition to checking out books, and mine doesn't. The Boston Public Library does a big book sale once every other month, but they don't have an ongoing bookstore. They easily could. And two of the ones that did it were Pampered Pages, where hers was great, and also the Retired Book Nerd, who in addition to enthusing over her library's bookstore, found Meg. So she finally gets to read Meg. All because of a dirt cheap library books. I thought that was great. Jeremy at JerSingsandReads did the new to BookTube tag, and it was a dream come true because he sang it. If you haven't seen it, you have to see it. He sang his book tag. That was great. We had two great, fantastic read-alongs that started last week. Adam at Mementomori did one for the Divine Comedy. His first one was for the Inferno. And again, I knew it was coming, looked at it and thought, how on earth? Dante's Inferno in one video, and it worked. It absolutely worked. I think the key was something that he's been stressing all along, which is that this is not a rigorous thing. This is designed to be enjoyed. And it motivated a whole bunch of people who might not have picked up Dante's Inferno, the first one that he did, to do it, to do that, because he's such an accessible channel, such a welcoming channel. And the guys at Surf Cover Lit started their read-along for the Fellowship of the Ring. And I imagine that much like Adam, they're going to get a lot of people who haven't read the Fellowship of the Ring. And what a perfect way to read it for the first time in a group of like-minded people, in a group of friends. That's just so wonderful. So I really look forward to that both those series going on. And then we get to the Man Booker. The long list was announced a while ago, and the short list is coming up next week. The short list is announced. So Neil Griffiths did a discussion video on Deborah Levy's Hot Milk that was fantastic. Just fantastic. And another booktuber who did the same thing, who also discussed Hot Milk, was Erik Karl Anderson, whose name might be familiar to some of you because he has one of the best book blogs in the world. And I confess, I didn't know he was on BookTube. And then I even though I must have subscribed to him at some point because he popped up in my video feed, and I saw that and I thought, oh, fantastic. In addition to Twitter and to reading his blog, I get to hear him talk about books. And so I clicked over to his channel and just automatically assumed that I would see 5,000 subscribers, 10,000 subscribers. This is a guy that the whole literary world loves his blog. And no, the number, like a lot of these people, the number is shockingly low of subscribers. Now, I know that needs to change. So the sooner that a lot of these people are up around 10,000 subscribers, the better I'll like it. But if you go to his channel for this video or any of the other ones he's posted, you'll subscribe. You'll see what I mean. He's the real deal. Sam at Thoughts on Tomes did a really good video, really energetic video, on the question of whether or not you need to read source material, the source material, for some literary adaptation, because as she rightly points out, literary adaptations are all the rage. They're everywhere. In mainstream literature, in science fiction, in YA, they're all over the place. And that question is natural. You come across somebody's literary adaptation of The Merchant of Venice, a natural question is, well, am I going to like this book if I've never read The Merchant of Venice? And should I read it anyway? What will I catch? What will I miss? She did a really good examination of that. Of course, my own version of that video would be much shorter and much simpler than hers, which is read the source material, always, in all cases. But she makes a lot of really good points. I bet you'll like it. And let's see here. Jason Purcell did a discussion, one of his great ruminative discussions of Zoe Whittall's The Best Kind of People, which is, Jason is the Crown Prince of Canlit. This is a Canadian novel that I have not read yet. And as usual, when he makes a video like this, I really wanted to. I really wanted to read it by the time he was done. I can't praise him high enough. I can't praise any of these people high enough, but Jason is, if there's any justice in the world, he will become the face and voice of Canlit to the world. And Canlit will be the better for it. So if you don't subscribe to his channel, if you haven't seen the video, go and do that. And the last thing, the thing I wanted to end with before this video gets as monstrously long as all my others have been this week, Olivia Pope did a very short video. I think maybe in her mind it was going to be a discussion video, but she was just too outraged, so it didn't end up being one. It just ended up being a little blurt of anger and about writers who don't read. And oh my God, could I make a video on that subject? I have tales to tell on the subject of writers who don't read that could make thy several hairs stand on end like quills on the fretful porpentine. Oh, it's a nightmarish blight on the world of literature, authors who don't read. And there are more of them than you think. Oh my God, including some that I'm sure you venerate, that were just imbeciles. They were just morons. They didn't read anything. And as she points out in her video, and as a bunch of other people have pointed out, what good are you as a writer if you don't read? But anyway, you should go and see her video. Like all the rest of these, you should go and see her video and see what you think, and then leave a comment and subscribe. And that's it. That was last week in BookTube this time around. Like I mentioned, there's a big thing missing from this last week in BookTube, and I'm going to make a separate video about it, so I'll just post them together. But as far as the fun stuff goes, this was just a selection of the highlights that I really liked. So, once again, the usual shtick here. Go and look at these things if you're not familiar with them already. Subscribe to all of these people, and also in the comments field, let me know if you saw anything, that I should see, that I missed, because that part of the discussion I love. And I'll see you soon in BookTube. Thank you.